All right, as of course you can see now, we are on the different side of the set, which means it's a build-up. It has started, the build-up to the opening ceremony of Paris 2024.
Indeed, welcome to our special coverage now as we build up to the official opening. What an event it's expected to be. To start with the both of you, welcome. Arno, thank you very much for joining us this evening to help us build up. You're a former Olympian, but you were quick to correct one of our guests to say there's no such thing as a former Olympian.
Yeah, no, once an Olympian, always an Olympian.
Your take on what we're going to see today, because this is a first of its kind. We're not expecting it to be hosted inside, at least the opening. It will be outside.
Going to be very, very different. As a former athlete, you can call me. I like the idea. It's going to be amazing. I mean, it's always been inside the stadium. This is going to be outside the stadium on the Seine. And your athletes march through, which is normally the longest part of an opening ceremony, is now going to happen on boats, with all the teams on boats. As an athlete, I'm not sure if I like it. I like the idea of it, but it was always very awesome to walk into the stadium for the first time, get some sort of a feel for what it's like before you have to go out there and compete. And of course, I'm talking about the athletics section of it. The others don't have the same impact because they compete in different venues. But this time they're not going to get it. But it's something different, and I like that. So,
And just also welcome Janet Zai, because certainly this is not a pleasure we always have on television. It's so great to actually have you on set, Janet, with us. Janet is our colleague here at the SABC. Now, Janet, we of course, as Mfundo says, we're now all surprised. Zai was having a conversation with Ross earlier on about this being an opening ceremony that's outside the stadium, and a lot of us were worried. I mean, you think about Team South Africa. Yes, we're used to adverse weather conditions sometimes. Yes, we can handle the rain and all of that. But on boats, really?
The organisers made it very clear when I think the weather forecast came through earlier in this week, and they said the chances of rain on Friday night are really high. In fact, the chances of rain, I think, throughout the weekend are actually quite high. It's going to get warm again next week. But they said they were ready for that, they were prepared for that, and it wouldn't make any difference. And I think I saw some footage earlier on today of various people who are in Paris and who are going to be lucky enough to actually watch this flotilla going down the Seine, which is going to be fabulous, I think. And they all said they will be there regardless. The one difference, though, Arno, you talk about the stadium, and the stadium obviously has a limited number of seats. Apparently there is seating for 300,000 people to watch the boats go down the Seine. So a lot more people are going to be able to watch and see what's going on.
Janet, watching indeed we will be doing. Is there anyone that we should be watching from the South African athletes' perspective? We've seen Chad Leclos, Tatiana Smith. These are some of the big names. Is there anybody else who's like the dark horse who think this is a medal contender for us?
The rugby sevens team.
Yes. Nobody saw them coming.
Nobody saw that coming. But besides the obvious, as you said, a couple of the swimmers, Akani, the relay teams, there's been a lot spoken about them. So we have some high hopes for them. Arno can probably comment on that as well. But some other South Africans that to watch out for, I think, are Alan Hatherley in the mountain biking. He's very highly ranked, and he has a really good chance of a medal, I think, if it goes to form. Canoeing and rowing, we've got in canoeing, we've got Andy Burkett, who everybody knows as a doozy star. He's going to be there, so one has to think that there must be an outside chance. It's not the kind of event he's usually involved in that we usually see him in. So we can certainly watch for him. And in canoeing as well, I think there's a good chance that we could come in from the outside there. John Smith is one of them. Is one of the rowers, and he was, of course, a gold medalist from 2012. We've seen some of the footage from 2012 already. So he knows what it's about. He's been there, done that, and he wants to kind of end his Olympic career with a bang.
Well, I love that you mentioned Andy Burkett as well. That flotilla going on the River Seine, it'll be perfect. Being canoed the likes of Andy Burkett, but Arno, you've had first-hand experience. You've been to an opening ceremony. We've actually come through a lot of opening ceremonies. We know Tokyo, overshadowed by the pandemic. We saw London, the Queen coming out in her James Bond style. This one has a lot of expectations as well because of the difference. But what is something that sticks out for you in your memory of being at the Olympics?
Well, the opening ceremony is always an event. And because I was an athlete, we only competed in the second half of the Olympics or the second week. We could always go to the opening ceremony. So you kind of know, okay, this is real. The Olympics is happening. And like I said, walking out into a stadium was always amazing. But for the athletes, I'll take you behind the scenes a bit. They go from the athletes' village, stand for a while in queues, get on buses, get bused to wherever they need to be, and this time it will be to the various boats. Stand there for a long time in queues and basically miss a lot of what's happening until it's your chance to actually go out into the stadium, or in this case, out onto boats. What's nice this time is, I don't know if you've seen the route they're going to take along the Seine, but they're basically looking at all the major Paris landmarks, the Louvre, the Eiffel Tower. They're going past all of those, and that's going to be absolutely amazing, I think. And for me, what was important with the opening ceremonies was to just drink it in, experience it, remember the smells. I remember in Sydney, for instance, they had these brumbies running into the stadium, the horses. And unfortunately, as horses do, they made a bit of a mess, so you could smell it. And I remember saying to my teammates, don't be surprised the next time you smell this and you get all excited. Because it's something you remember from an Olympic Games. And so, even with Atlanta, which was my first Olympics, which was absolutely amazing, one thing I remember, we were walking around the stadium and Bruce Willis and Demi Moore were sitting on the side of the track, waving at us. It's an absolute amazing memory to have.
And Mfundo, let's bring in someone who's actually in Paris.
Yes.
That's Dr. Cynthia Khumalo there, the acting DG of the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. Good evening to you. Well, good evening on this side. Thank you so much for your time. Let's just start with the atmosphere where you are and the mood within Team South Africa.
Thank you very much, Bongiwe, and it's evening here as well. We are on the same time zone. The atmosphere is electric. A lot of excitement on the streets. I think everyone here in Paris is just looking forward to witnessing what you guys have just discussed. There is an amazing program that we see that Paris have put together and the organizers have put together. And as I'm saying, a lot of excitement. You walk along the streets. Obviously, there's a lot of security that has been put in place, which is very good. But you can just actually feel it, that it is one big event that's about to start.
And when it comes then to the Blitzbox, for example, and how well they did, a lot of people are saying that Team South Africa is looking to feed off that energy. Does it look like for us? I know, of course, this is a long shot, but how many medals? I know there's 8 we're expecting, but how many are they telling you they are bringing home?
I was told not to mention a number, Bongiwe, and I'm going to be very careful that I don't mention a number. I think for us, the one excitement is that we have about 138 athletes here, that all of us as South Africans, all 60 million plus South Africans are behind. And we're very excited and very happy, also as a department, Bongiwe, to really see that out of that 138, we have 48% of those are women. And much as we also know that we are in a competition, we are not going to be getting all the medals, much as we would love to get them, but we know for sure that we are going to be getting some of the medals. Rugby Sevens have just shown us that it's possible.
Possible indeed, and I think we love how South Africa always had the buzzword, alive with possibility. Now, we look at the contenders for the medals, we look at our participation in the Olympics, but what impact do you think their participation will have on sport developing further here in South Africa?
You know, it gives, especially the young ones that are still aspiring to really reach the levels that these athletes have reached, it gives them a lot of hope. And that is what, as a department, we are working towards in terms of making sure that sports development happens at grassroots level. And if that young person in that deep rural area or in the township can actually witness and see what a fellow South African can be able to do, definitely it gives them that kind of hope to say, I can do it as well.
And when it comes to the blitz box, how much would you say? I mean, a lot of people were saying that we did not see this one coming, but that particular inspiration also feeds off when it comes to South Africa as well. And you speak about, school sport, you speak about rural areas. How much of that also translates into action? Because we've been talking a lot about sports development, especially at school level. How then do we begin to maximize on this opportunity and make it a reality?
Bongiwe, I believe also under the leadership of the current minister, we're really definitely making strides and looking beyond just promises and talking about plans within plans. At this point, at the level of, for instance, the Director Generals, between myself and the Director General of the Department of Basic Education, we have definitely now agreed on a plan, not signing agreements, but on a plan that is really going to take us forward. So I do think that our investment is not just looking at the programs in terms of the software issues, but we also